Our thesis for this presentation is that using a pattern found in the teaching, we discovered it continues into both the future and the distant past. The next constellation is our modern one called Aquarius. But here the trail goes cold because the pattern seems to break down until a tool and an image is uncovered in the dust of almost 4,000 years. In the end, we will discover the great day of Yah, who is known to the ancients as the Great One. Hi, I'm Rex Hudson. I'm going to be your guide for the Yahweh. Up to this time, we've covered almost 6,000 years of history. Now, if you have some familiarity with the teachings around the Torah, you're probably aware there's a common belief that mankind has been given 7,000 years for his history to play out. So there's another millennia left ahead of us. But if we will, let's go back and review where we are. The first sign was the creation of Adam. The second sign was the birth of Noah. The third sign was the birth of Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. The fourth sign was the birth of Moses during that time of trouble in which the infants were being murdered. And then we use that as a pattern to find the fifth, sixth, and seventh signs were in 70 CE, the end of the First Jewish War, in 137 CE, the end of the Third Jewish War, and in 1949 CE, the Holocaust, the War of Independence, and the Exodus from the Muslim lands, covering the history of the Jews to this point. When we try to go forward, though, in time, we, of course, obviously we're going into the unknown, but looking for that same pattern, it's difficult to find. On the screen right now is the image that's taken from my Starry Night software. And when we look at that, we can't find that double star pattern. And when we eventually find double stars, then we can't find something that fits the space allowed for us. Now, if we look at the Dendera zodiac, here's the image from Dendera. You can see it's not that different from what we anticipate. It's an entity holding two flowing vases and a fish at the bottom of those trails of water. Is that what the ancients, though, at the time of the Exodus saw as being Aquarius? Luckily, there's a tool that's been discovered. It's called a cylinder seal, and it was found on the island of Crete. Everyone is in agreement is actually a device that was taken from the Mesopotamia, and basically it's an ancient form of a Xerox machine, a copier. And what you did is you took a soft piece of clay, you rolled this cylinder across it, and it left the image you see in front of you. Now this is an image we know of Yah, and he's holding in his hands two vases with water flowing from them, a perfect image of the land dominated by the Tigris and Euphrates. But notice that the vases are not held in front of him, but out either side. Now, is there anything in the cosmos that looks like that? And the answer is yes. Constellation Cygnus, which is normally viewed as a bird flying with its outstretched wings and a short tail, actually, if we look at it, it bears a striking resemblance to the outline of the Great One that is given on the cylinder seal. If we use that as our reference point, and that top star is the head, then we find the eighth sign, the Great One. It comes on the horizon in the spring equinox of 2749 CE. It's the first star in the constellation Cygnus Deneb. It's a double star, or some sources will say it's a multiple star, meaning two or more, and it sets 1 second after sunset as viewed from Jerusalem. Again, a 99.99% alignment. Now, looking back in history, we're now at roughly 800 years after the beginning of the Jewish nation's return. It's exactly 800 years from the 1949 and they were 6,707 years since Adam. Here's a screenshot of my software. You can see the Cygnus, or the Great One, near the bottom. Here we have the 8 events we can identify. Now, when we try to go beyond the Great One, in other words, beyond Aquarius or beyond Cygnus, we still have the problem. We don't see the pattern. We run into the goatfish, Capricorn, and that actually is a hint of a problem itself. You see, the ancients view their zodiac symbols as being animals and humans, but the hybrids, the chimeras, if you will, were actually markers of the space between the two when one sign went to another. Therefore, when we see an illustration of a woman-headed lion, that's actually marking the boundary point between Leo the lion and Virgo the virgin. Now, in this case of the goatfish, we're seeing the same marker, but then somehow over the millennia, it's become, a constellation to itself. Anyway, it reflects confusion, and we see the pattern ending at that point. On our wheel of stars, you can see we go from the top all the way back to Taurus. Moving backwards in time, the next constellation we come to is the Loyal Shepherd. In the spring equinox of 4966 BCE, the first star of the constellation, the Loyal Shepherd, or what we know as Orion, 11 Orionis, a double star again, sets 3 seconds after sunset as viewed from Jerusalem. Again, an astounding degree of alignment. Here's the screenshot from my software, which still shows the double star as being the first star even after 4,000 plus years. Here you see we're now adding a new constellation below the Taurus, the bull, at the nearing the bottom. The next constellation moving backwards in time is Auriga. At the spring equinox in 4673 BCE, the first star of the constellation the ancients called the Crook, Melikanin, a multiple star, again 2 or more stars orbiting together, set 22 seconds after sunset as viewed from Jerusalem. 22 seconds is more than our others, but still amazingly accurate. Here's the screenshot from my software. Again, even after all these years, the same star is identified as being the first. Here's our position coming downward on the wheel of stars. The next constellation is the Twins, Gemini. At the spring equinox in 6214 BCE, the first star of the constellation, the Twins, Kappa Geminorum, again a double star, sets 1 second after sunset as viewed from Jerusalem. Here's the screenshot of my software marking that event. Now, one thing I must add, again, you saw the illustration of the Twins. There's no adjoining at the top. So that star that sets as above the horizon on the screenshot simply wasn't part of the ancient form. Here we see the position of the Twins, and we go to our next constellation. The next stop is the Crab. At the spring equinox in 7582 BCE, the first star in the constellation known as the Crab, Acubens, again a double star, sets 51 seconds after sunset as viewed from Jerusalem. Here we see the position almost to the bottom. The next stop on the wheel of stars is Leo, what the ancients known as the Lion or the Great Lion. The 13th sign for us. In the spring equinox at 10,587 BCE, the first star in the constellation Leo, Denibola, again a double star, sets 1 second after sunset as viewed from Jerusalem. Again, that's a 99.99% alignment. Here's the screenshot of my software showing that handoff from the age of Virgo to the age of Leo. You see, we now we come to the exact opposite point on the wheel of stars. Now, when we try to go beyond this point, when we try to find Virgo, we lose the pattern once again. We don't see the double stars as we move past this. So we come to a stop with the signs we've identified. Perhaps if we studied long and hard enough, we would find that double star pattern going beyond the goatfish and beyond the virgin. But I don't think so. I think instead if we say the lion is the beginning in that very, very ancient date, and we instead move our eyes away from the western sky and instead look due north, in other words, towards the pole rather than the setting sun, we'll see something occurring in the exact same moment the sun is setting and Leo is on the horizon. And that is in this illustration, we're now looking northward, and there is the image of something called Draco the dragon. There's a line in the center of the screen going straight up and down, which marks the exact north. And you see it goes right through the head of that Draco the dragon and through a star we know as germanium. Now we move to our last sign, which was, of course, the Great One, what we know as Aquarius today. Here we see, again, instead of looking into the western sunset to see the zodiac, we look directly north, and at that same moment, again, there that line indicating exact true north is passing through germanium, the head of the dragon, at exactly the same time, just 12,000 years later. Notice that they're pointing in different directions. In other words, when Leo goes at this point, the dragon's head is facing upward. But at the end, the dragon's head is facing downward. Here you see the illustrations taken from Starry Night software. I believe what we're looking here is the Great Day. The Great Day begins in 10,587 BCE as darkness is coming, night is falling at the beginning of the day. The Great Day reaches its halfway point. In other words, the sun is beginning to rise at 2749 CE, 700 years from now, roughly. That total count is 13,335 years. It's a half of the circle of the precession of the equinox. And basically, it's a time for dawn to start appearing on the horizon. Our next presentation is the prophecy of Adam. I hope you enjoyed this.